From Williamsville to Grand Island, covering all of Western New York, this is News 4, your local news leader.
Today, the Buffalo History Museum helped mark the bicentennial of our region's connection to Jewish history.
It is the symbol of a vision that could have led to a much different path for Grand Island. Right now, we are joined by Rob Goldberg, immediate past CEO of the Buffalo Jewish Federation. Rob, it is a pleasure to have you here this afternoon.
Thanks. Always good to be here.
As Jeff mentioned, there was a special commemoration today at the Buffalo History Museum. Tell us about that.
200 years ago, 1825, September 2nd, a man named Mordecai Noah came to Buffalo, and he presented this stone, this cornerstone, for what he had hoped to be a refuge for the Jewish people on, of all places, Grand Island, which was a wilderness at the time. There was no bridge. Bridge was built in the 1930s. You couldn't even get to Grand Island. So what Noah did, he was an amazing guy. He was a poet. He was a military strategist. He was a lawyer. He was a judge. And he was a visionary. And he lived in New York. He didn't even live in Buffalo. There were only 2,500 people living in Buffalo in 1825. But he had this vision for this city of refuge where Jews could be safe. And so he came here, presented this stone. And this was so interesting. It was presented not on Grand Island, as I said, very hard to get to. It was at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. They hosted him. The stone came from Cleveland, from a quarry in Cleveland. There was someone in Buffalo who etched the stone. The top of the stone has this very important Jewish prayer, the Shema, which is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." It comes from the Bible. And then it says, "Ararat, city of refuge."
Okay. A lot of history there.
Yeah,
a lot to
certainly.
digest. So the stone is called Ararat.
Right.
Break down some of the significance of the stone specifically.
Yeah, so I've got in my hand a book called From Ararat to Suburbia, and it's the history of the Jewish community, and it was written by Dr. Selig Adler, who was a historian at the University of Buffalo. And his point was that Ararat was the beginning of Jewish people coming to Buffalo. The reality was Mordecai Noah didn't stay here. He came here once, and then he left and he went back to New York. And it wasn't until 10 years later that the first Jew arrived in the city of Buffalo, which again, as I mentioned, was so small at the time. And then the Jewish story is one that's very powerful. But Ararat, the reason why he named it Ararat, because it's where Noah's Ark settled at the end of its journey. When the land was dry and Noah and his family and all the animals were able to rebuild society. And so that was sort of his idea of the city of refuge.
So really, today's celebration is a celebration in itself, right, of this stone, what it symbolizes, and Buffalo and Western New York's really early history and its connection to Jewish history, right? 200 years later, what do you make of what that looks like now?
Yeah, so he was a visionary at the time. No Jews here, but at the same time, he had this idea. What it symbolizes for us is this incredible partnership that the different faith communities have in our wonderful city of good neighbors. So the fact that an Episcopal church hosted Mordecai Noah, this extraordinary Jew, this visionary from New York, and then helped him with this celebration is just an example of so many ways that communities have worked to help each other over time. Today we're small. There's only 10,000 Jews in Western New York. Our height was maybe 30,000 in the 60s, late 50s. But at this point in time, the Jewish community is still thriving. We were here 200 years ago. We're still here. And we've made such a contribution to civic life in Western New York, and that's a story that we love to tell. When you look at theater, when you look at the Philharmonic, when you look at the art scene in Buffalo, business, commerce, Jews have played a part in building Buffalo from that tiny hamlet of 2,500 people to where we are today.
And for people, before we go here, for people to learn more about Ararat and all the history behind this, how do they learn more?
Well, first of all, the Buffalo History Museum is a jewel in our community, and we're blessed to have it with us. I would urge people to go to the Buffalo History Museum to see the stone. It's been on a permanent display since the early 1990s. It's on the second floor, and you can read a little bit more about it in a beautiful exhibition, at the History Museum.
Wonderful.
Great.
And if you at home, if you missed any of this and you're interested in learning more, you can find this entire interview up on our website, WIVB.com. Some really interesting stuff here, Rob. Thank you so much for coming in to share this history with us.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank
and
you.
the
Thank you,
Federation.
Rob. We all learned something there.